Only on CBS 4 News at 6:30, Congress may be on the verge of passing major immigration reform, and a Colorado lawmaker is working to make that happen. Senator Michael Bennet, one of 8 senators working on legislation to reform the country's immigration system, says they will introduce a bill as early as next week. He says they have reached a compromise on a controversial guest worker program. CBS 4 political specialist Shaun Boyd sat down with Bennet to talk about this latest development.
We are very, very close.
Senator Michael Bennet, a member of the Gang of 8, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans in the U.S. Senate leading immigration reform. And Bennet says they will introduce legislation as early as next week.
Our job then is to get a big vote in the Senate to encourage the House to move forward on this legislation.
And he says they've cleared maybe the biggest hurdle. Union and business leaders, he says, have reached an agreement on worker visas.
This issue, which is the future flow of low-skilled workers, is what brought the bill down the last time.
He wouldn't provide details, but an earlier proposal capped guest workers at $200,000. Michael Barrera with the LIBRE initiative group says the visas are key to any reform.
We used to own a restaurant, and folks would work and they'd go back home and come back. And then when they closed up the borders, they stayed. And then they missed their families. They brought their families over. A lot of them would be happy to just work and go back and forth.
The legislation will also address the exodus of high-skilled workers who go to school here, then start businesses in other countries.
We're going to be able to say, if we can get this legislation passed, that we're open for business again, that we want talented people to come to this country and invent the future here.
Bennet knows the bill's success or failure likely rests on him and his gang.
I think that in the next week or two, we are going to introduce a piece of legislation endorsed by all of us that, if it passes the Senate and the House, really can make a profound difference.
Political specialist Shaun Boyd, CBS 4 News.
Thank you, Shaun. A bill requiring universal background checks on all gun sales could also be introduced in the Senate the next week. Bennet says the sponsors are working through this weekend to finalize it. He does say that it is unclear if they have the votes to get it through.
The nation's unemployment rate